Party people, Tony Rowe back in his house, playing Leo2m, who goes 1b5. Not a bad move. It's kind of like going b6, but with more space. The idea being that now white can't play c4, so that's sort of the idea here. I don't really know what I'm supposed to play exactly. I have no idea. He's just putting all the guys out there. I'm going to go d4. If he goes c4, I won't be that upset. And okay, he doesn't do that. Going to go b3, I think. Well, I don't think because I just played it. Idea being to just go c4 at some point. So c4 now, b takes c4, b takes c4, d takes c4, queen a4 is my idea when he's going to find it hard to keep this thing. And knight e5 is a pretty huge threat. He's lagging a little bit behind in kingside development. And so I'm trying to come up with a way to exploit that. c4, c takes d4, knight takes d4. That seems fine. Yeah, I'm just going to do this. And if he exchanges once and goes something like knight f6, to me it sort of feels like a better Tarsh. That's an interesting choice. Not giving me much of any options. But the problem he runs into here is that he's just got this weird pin on the d-pawn. It seems like it would be hard to bust. Like bishop g5 and rook d1 are just coming. I hope everyone is having a good week and that everything is going swimmingly. I am on overtime at work, and I have been for the last week or two, which is stinky. But what can you do? Don't have a lot of time for chess. Bishop g5, he'll just go h6. And then takes, hits my queen, and pins the knight. That seems bad. Rook d1 is sort of calling my name. There's also c takes d5. And if e takes d5, maybe queen a4 check, queen d7, queen takes, king takes, then rook d1. C takes, knight takes, bishop takes, queen takes. I mean, that's somewhat better for white, but nothing, I think, super exciting. I think I'm going to leave the tension and just go rook d1. So he's just chucking it. This guy's playing very fast. Oh, there's this scummy bishop f6 at the end. I missed that. He's got bishop f6. So knight takes, and then bishop f6, for instance. And this thing's hanging. I can go bishop takes here. Unbelievable. Yeah. Sorry, I keep my fingers on the keyboard. Just whacked the F key. Gonna go bishop a3, rook e8, and then rook b1, rook c1, something like that, probably. This video is sponsored by Cherry Coke Zero and Bent Larson. Just kidding. Bent Larson's not sponsoring this stream. Okay, rook e8, knight d5, bishop a1 is presumably not working. Knight d5, bishop a1, knight to e7 check. Rook takes e7, queen d8 is obviously great, but king h8. And there's really nothing. Well, so there's knight d5, bishop a1, knight e7 check, rook e7, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, rook takes d8 check, rook e8, rook takes e8 is mate. Knight e7 check, king f8 is incredibly dumb. King h8, queen takes d8, rook a takes d8, let's say. Rook takes a1. Rook d7, then knight c6. I mean, that's better for me, but he also has just knight to, or e takes d5 rather. Then I have to play rook a to c1 or rook a to b1. Should be fine though. Is e4 anything? No, I don't think so. Even queen takes d5 is not that bad here. Queen takes d5, queen takes d5, e takes d5, rook a to c1, rook e2 would be pretty suck for me. So on queen d5, I'd almost have to move my queen, like queen to e3. But queen to e3, queen to c4, rook a to c1, queen a2 is probably... So maybe something like queen takes queen c2. It's not exciting. I don't... I think maybe... Yeah, I mean, maybe here I just play some move. Like, I don't release the tension yet. Maybe here I just go... Yeah, this is probably the line. Unpinning the knight and hitting the bishop. So something like... Yeah, and rook b8 would be met by bishop f4, another nice developing move. And after bishop d6, bishop takes d6, queen d6, c takes d5. I'm just winning a clean pawn. And on bishop c6, I mean, I still have the pin, so I can even just complete my development, like bishop b2 or whatever, and then take. So just releasing the tension with c takes d5 was just... I just missed this bishop f6 tactical resource, and... I'm just trying to make the best of it now, but I think that was sort of the critical moment there, where I have been playing very well lately, and I deserve it. I just have not had time for chess. It's a bummer. I actually, as I was saying, I haven't recorded a video in a while, but it isn't for lack of trying. I recorded probably 45 minutes worth of blitz with international master Voja, and my mic just wasn't on, and I bought a new headset for gaming. This solid Sennheiser number right here, and it was plugged in, and I guess in doing that, it somehow screwed up my settings to where my USB like recording mic that's much higher quality was not registering an XSplit, and so I just recorded the whole thing without a mic active. So friggin' annoying. So yeah, that video was not a great success. But I also went like 2 and 4, so I'm not totally unhappy that didn't see the light of day. And then I think it was yesterday or the day before I went to re-record that video. I just challenged Voja on his stream again, and I beat him one time with this really nice tactic, and then he just quit. He would not play me again. And 3 of my losses, I think I was fine or better in the first session, and he flagged me. And so the next day I challenged him to 3-2, and I think he realized that after the first game when I beat him, and then he stopped. He stopped playing. But yeah, so I tried to get like a cool mini match against an international master, and I'm like a 1200 recording, unfortunately. So my apologies for that. I have a video coming out. The study is like basically done. I just have to record it on another endgame that's worth knowing about, which is queen versus 7th rank rook pawn or 7th rank bishop pawn. And people pretty much, most viewers of my channel probably know that a queen versus a rook pawn on the 7th or a bishop pawn on the 7th, as long as the queen can't like block the promotion square or whatever, if the king is close, it's usually a draw because there are these nice little stalemate tricks. But what a lot of people don't know is there are winning zones where if the person with the king, if their king is, or if the person with the queen, if their king is close enough inside of this winning zone, then you can actually allow the guy to promote and still win through some very cute checkmate motifs. So I'm making a video on that, and I just wanted to kind of come up with the best examples and the clearest explanation and stuff. It's a cool ending, so that'll be out soon. If I say it on stream, I have to make it. That's the plan. I hold myself accountable that way. Leo's having a hard time resisting, at least calculating bishop a1 here, because he's played very quickly otherwise, and now he's taking a very long time. I should be thinking where I'm going to put my rook, on which square I'm going to put my rook, if it really matters. I'll probably go to b1. I don't have a great explanation of why I think I would rather go there than c1. But I'm probably going to go there. I think maybe one reason is that it guards the b2 square, so if ever I have to go bishop b2, it's protected, and the rook is on a light square. It's not attackable. It's maybe less of a tactical liability. I don't see a huge difference between these moves. And then my next move after that, I'll probably want to go e3 and just sit on this pawn. A trade of dark squared bishops would be pretty helpful to me, actually. So I think maybe rook b1 is going to be better in that way, because I'll have bishop b2 looming in a lot of positions. I want to take control of this square and ideally put like a rook here. But obviously to put a rook there, I need to trade the bishops. And in general, I think heavy piece endings tend to be pretty favorable for the isolated pawn. It's usually pretty favorable. Reason being is that I can gang up on it and force all of his pieces to be in passive positions, and usually there's a pin along the d file, and then I can just go e4 at some point and exploit the pin and just bag this d pawn. It would be interesting if he just goes e takes, rook b1, and then maybe d4. It does stunt his bishop, but that pawn is pretty annoying. I mean, it sort of stunts my bishop too, and it sort of enforces a little space advantage, which makes it hard to rid myself of this backward e pawn. So that would be interesting. Maybe rook b1, d4, bishop c5 is possible. That might be a reason why he wouldn't want to play that way. Leo2 has fallen asleep. I've put him to sleep. By the way, go to the Lee Chess store, get your swag, like Tony Rowe. Support the website. The more people that buy swag, the more times we can let Magnus Carlsen anonymously take our money and then give it back. Oh, he's doing it. All right. All right, so there's this check. That was my line. King f8, obviously, knight c6. Yeah, and rook e7, queen d8. So I think my idea was to take here. And then take on a1. This is going to be complicated. This is not a trivial ending, and I'm not certain that it's even really better for white, because he's going to get to go rook d2, and then my rook is going to be kind of stinky, and he has somewhat active pieces. But yeah. Okay, I should be precise here. One idea, honestly, is just to go rook b1, and he can't go knight c8 because he can't go rook c8 because my knight covers it, and then he won't be able to go rook b8. I'm primarily worried about him going rook c8 to c2. Maybe I can just go king f1. It seems so passive, though. e3 is probably a better option. Well, e3 allows rook d3, and king f1 doesn't. Okay, I'm going to go king f1. This might be a little slow. It would be interesting to look at something like rook b1. He has rook a2, he hits my bishop, and then... I'm not saying it's a perfect move, but it's an idea. I can give this idiot the boot here. He's probably going to go rook c7. Then I'm going to go rook c1. Ah, that move's better. That move's much better. In fact, am I losing now? I think I might be. Oh, no. Yeah, this is not good. So bishop d2, rook c7 is losing, I think. This knight is trapped. He also has this threat. So king e1, pretty much by process of elimination, is forced. Now rook c7, I have bishop back to a3, and on rook d7, at least at first glance, I have rook b1. And I can at least get my rook onto an open file, and then I can go bishop b2. When he goes rook to c2, I can go bishop to a3. It's not good. None of this is good, I think, because he is going to get to double on the d file. Well, I'm going to go here for lack of better options. G6 one time. Damn. Okay. I can also go bishop d2, rook c2. Bishop here. I can go rook b8 check, king h7. There's some mate threats too. It's kind of a big deal. It's not good. This is none of this is good. I think he might actually also have rook c2, bishop b4, a5. Of course, bishop a5 allows rook e7, but any other move allows rook d2. Yeah, this all sucks bad. Honestly, I'd be pretty happy if he took on a2. It's good for him, but at least maybe I can hold out somehow. I get to free my bro at least. That's something. If I could get my pieces to stable squares and keep his rook off his second rook off the 7th, I have a chance. Otherwise, I'm in kind of a little bit of trouble here. That a pawn is going to be a biatch. All right, well, we'll do that. Rook b7 issue, yes. Maybe knight c6 there was better instead. Not a lot of options. Rook c7 is good. He can also just take on b1 and then take on e2. That's not bad. I can fight on after that. Rook b1, king b1, rook e2, knight f7, king g8 or king h7, and then maybe I can hope for something. Okay, I mean, I'm taking this. Let's be real. So bishop c5, the point was that rook f2 is stopped for a minute. If I were him, I'd play g5. I would really like to play h4 here. And now just this is the base of my pawn chain, and it's adequately protected, which is nice. There's no rook c2 or any sketchy nonsense. Sorry, I'll try to keep my face in the camera. I wish I had more time. This lets me activate my king at least. Rook's a little short on squares. Not the end of the world for him, but just a minor annoyance. And again, this position would be much different if he had g5 in and my pawn was still on h2, because he would be able to try and win another pawn. So that's sort of the main thing. And I'm going to go knight b5, idea knight c3 with the triple fork. There's also maybe knight d6 check, picking this thing up looming. If I could pick up the a pawn, I'd be sure I was going to draw. And maybe I could even press. He wants to go a3 check. I don't know if this move really does anything, but now if like king e6, knight c3, a3, takes a2 doesn't work, knight c3, a2, I can just take it. Bananas. a2, king b2, rook a3 is funny. Doesn't work because of knight c5. Oh, yeah, maybe. I mean, I can go king a1, and I'm not dead yet. But that looks pretty sketchy. That's a move. So on rook a5, I'm just going to play king b3, blockade the pawn, hope for the best. I'll pre-move this capture. I doubt he's going to play g5, but doesn't hurt to have a pre-move. Now my plan would be something like king a2, knight b1, or knight b5 if I'm allowed, just to pick up that last pawn. And these types of positions can sometimes illustrate like the differences between a rook versus a knight and bishop. A lot of times the knight and bishop are favorable or easier to play when there aren't very many pawn weaknesses, and you can anchor those pieces to solid active squares. Like I don't have any real pawn weaknesses, and my bishop is very well placed, and so it becomes somewhat hard for my opponent to create inroads with the rooks and keep the pieces unstable and to attack weaknesses. Like if he had a pair of rooks, it would be different. Like if there was a rook added, I think it would be a different story. But okay, well, what am I thinking about? I'm going to go knight b1. I should try and conserve the tiny amount of time that I have. All right. I'm going to unpin here. Okay, so he wants to go into the f3 square. That's fine. That doesn't really do anything. I can start to think about pressuring now. I mean, I got to coordinate my pieces, get my king active and stuff, but king f3, knight e5 would be humorous. It's also, I mean, he has 47 seconds, so it's not a big deal. But if he starts getting down to like the 10-second sort of range like I'm at, playing against the knight is extremely irritating. I want to get my king like, you know, over here somewhere. Right now I'm a little bit out of play. I'm not scared of rook e3, knight e3, king f2, knight f5, for instance, or just g4, and I'd be winning. He has g5, takes, bishop takes, king f2. This is fine. He has to watch out for knight d2. Should probably move this somewhere. I'm going to give him this check. Forces king to a dumb square. And I am going to go here. Idea king f5. He has rook f6 check. That's his idea. I'm going to allow him to do that. That's fine for now. Whoa, partner. What? Okay. I don't get it. I don't get what just happened. What just happened? It was like an implosion. What the hell was that? What the hell just happened? He's left me dumbfounded. I don't know what to say. See, it exists. Queen versus rook or bishop pawns, guys. I'm totally confused. I do also want to look at what I'm supposed to do against this because I felt like my position on the opening was maybe not that exciting. Ah. That's it, yeah, e4. I'm so dumb. I'm just a straight idiot. This is just a reverse Sokolsky with knight f3 inserted for white. And then I would imagine that bishop b7, bishop b5, bishop e4, knight c3, or probably a lot of moves here. Castles comes to mind. Knight to f6. Yeah, and then there are a lot of moves. So this move is just so stupid. I was getting it confused with knight f3, knight f6, g3, b5, which is a vastly improved version for black because white has committed himself to g3 and because e4 is no longer possible. And I was just like, at the start of the video, I was just talking, not really thinking about it. And I felt like my opponent got just a way better position out of the opening. Like after this, I was like, oh, I think I've screwed up already. Like I had this feeling, and my thought came because I was like, okay, if I go d3 here, planning to go e4, and he goes d5, like, what do I actually do? And Stockfish seems to think white is better. It didn't feel that way to me at the time. I would dispute that white is better here unless there's some really clever stuff. I mean, maybe there is. Jeez. Okay. I mean, this position I like for white a lot. So for whatever reason, already he kind of screwed it up. Like maybe not knight c6. Maybe knight to f6 is more natural. Protecting d5 and not blocking the bishop and also just getting on with the kingside development makes a little bit more sense. Dude, study looks so good now. You guys see this green highlighting that's awesome? And there's this little flag. That's badass. By the way, you can also do computer analysis of a study if you haven't seen that, which is something Tebow just added. My savior, the hero of the study feature. Yeah, and if you request a computer analysis, it analyzes all of your stuff, just like analyzing a game. Yeah, and already it feels like here my opponent's position sort of sucks. So it must be that knight c6 is maybe kind of stinky, and then I have a feeling that knight takes d4 isn't very good either. These exchanges really just help white to develop the queen to the d4 square for nothing. It's kind of like this type of exchange is pretty lazy. And it reminds me a lot of like a move people would never play, like in the Scotch. No one who's any good plays this move. There's this tension between these two knights, and prematurely releasing it just gives white this well centralized queen that you can't really assail because your knight on c6 is missing. Of course, that's not the same as this, right? Because now knight c6 just gains a move for black. But once the knights have already been developed, this is just a free development, a development move. Exchanges can lose time is what I'm trying to say. You have to sort of consider that when you decide to release the tension is sometimes, and it's something that's sort of subtle, right? That it was your turn, and at the end of the exchanges in your turn, I have a developing move and you didn't do anything. So something to think about next time you go to make an exchange. And after this, I think he already essentially can't save the pawn. Yeah, and rook b1 is much better than what I played. I think what I played is sort of suck. Okay, but there's this, bishop f6, bishop g5. What? That's really pretty because bishop takes d4, bishop d8. Well, yeah, this just loses the pawn, right? And then rook d4 and e4. This is probably still a draw, though, like this. If anything, black is better. Interesting. But come on. Come on, Stockfish. No one's playing that. That's so sick. And if here, then obviously here. Takes. He has bishop f6. And then... dear. Okay, so... yeah, this is the best I have. And I'm up a pawn in an opposite colored bishops versus rooks. Opposite colored bishops with rooks ending. Interesting. If this pawn was on e5, I would be very optimistic about my winning chances. Because I could go e4, bishop d5, and there'd be a lot of pressure on f7. But the pawn on e6 is a little bit trickier. Man. Yeah, didn't see that. Here. Here is just straight winning. Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Jeez. If you're like a trainer, these are the kinds of moments where you these are the kinds of positions that you put in your like training file. You're like, what's White's best move here? And hopefully people like get this far and see that there's this issue, and then that there's this rebuttal. That's so sick. I think in hindsight, maybe e3 is a better move than what I played. Computer likes e4. I'm not sure there's a huge difference. I was a little bit worried about rook e2 in this case. But it's just saying chuck this thing. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could be happy with this position. I don't have any real huge problems, at least, compared to the game where I had a shitload. This move, things start getting kind of bad. King d1 was not good because rook c3 was very strong. I just looked at this and I thought rook c1 takes and then takes and I'd be better. That was my sort of line of thinking, but rook c3 is much better. And king d1 was very stupid. And there must have been some point here. I wouldn't be surprised if I was losing. I was worried about a5 a lot. Okay, yeah, there is rook d1. That's clever. Point being that king takes, and then I'm hitting the rook, so this thing is not hanging yet. And if he moves it, I have a square. I have two squares. This is still really bad. Okay, this is pretty bad. Yeah, I was pretty scared of this move. I'm less scared of rook a2. I was kind of gifted that one. And I sort of got myself into trouble again. I think looking back on it, I would go knight a5, but because rook b7 was pretty annoying. This position, I think, is about equal, but it pretty quickly starts to look kind of bad. Yeah, I think g5. G5 was very good. And it's one of those moves that you probably wouldn't know to play until someone shows it to you and shows you the reason why. Like, but if you study enough Ulf Anderson games, you find g5 immediately, like I did. It's not a brag. It's like it's just for whatever reason. There's something. Ulf Anderson's very famous for playing like simple positions, and when you start to study simple positions, you realize how much depth there is to even relatively low piece endgames like this, and the significance of just your pawns being on slightly different squares, or fixing these tiny little weaknesses that you can poke at for a long time. And the move like G5 is very common, and it's also extremely common that in a lot of different endgames, this is the optimal defensive setup for pawns if you're concerned about saving draws a lot of times, just because moving your F pawn can expose a larger amount of the 7th rank, and also using this F2 G3 H4 structure creates one weakness that is the most centralized for a centralized king to defend. So you can defend the base of this pawn chain and centralize your king at the same time. And H4 encourages pawn exchanges if black wants to gain any more space or start to create a majority. It guarantees you get to trade off a lot of pawns, or more pawns than if your pawn was on H2, and trading off pawns is almost always in the defender's favor. Okay, so yeah, and it starts to look good for me once these weaknesses sort of stick out like this. I'm not sure that the pawn is any better on E4 than on E6. It's probably worse. He should somehow focus on getting his king into the action, like maybe G6 here, and try and, you know, do this. That would be my first thought. Though yeah, here king G7, knight to C6, and he's losing a pawn, so maybe not. Okay, so you go A4 first. And now bishop E3. And he can't go G6 because H6 is hanging. Yeah, and this is always looming, but I considered it a ton of times during the game, but I just felt like that thing could end up being just the tiniest weakness that falls, and I'd have to go G4, and then my pawns aren't on dark squares anymore, and G4 is a weakness, so I just decided to keep it until a little bit later. Interesting. Okay. Just sack the pawn for activity. Okay, come on with this. How is this? Interesting. Yeah, and he's just getting to all my pawns. That makes a lot of sense. That's a crazy draw. As the game happened, I was just able to round up all his stuff. Looks like he missed a lot of opportunities. Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's hard for him here. I just took everything, and now he doesn't really have any positive imbalances in his favor. My position's very solid, and I just remaneuver this knight and the king into the center and start to go after the G7 pawn. And then this was just like an implosion. I don't know what he thought was going on. There must have been... You'd think it was a mouse slip and that he meant rook f3, but that doesn't make any sense either. Maybe he felt like he was losing and he was just frustrated, or he thought this was a draw for some reason. I really don't get it. But, yeah, tough game. Tough game. Not on my best form. Missing rook b1 early, I think, was pretty important. Like here, I think rook b1 is probably quite good, and I'm not super upset at not finding this idea. But yeah, after that, it was about equal, and in many ways, this position is, because black's rook is active, it's a little bit practically difficult for white to play, and I got myself into a little bit of trouble here. But yeah, at some point, I kind of cleaned it up and managed to get to coordinate my pieces in this endgame and get there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I said, there will be one more video. Probably not tomorrow because I have jiu-jitsu, but Friday's looking good. So look out for that video on Friday, and then hopefully another one over the weekend. I will see you guys soon. Bye-bye.